17-year-old Sophia Bennett stepped into the Lincoln County courtroom, her face twisted in a chilling smirk, as she glanced at the grieving family of the man she had savagely killed, Thomas Reynolds. At just 17, she carried herself with an unshakable arrogance, convinced that her age would serve as an impenetrable shield against true justice. She chuckled under her breath during the preliminary hearings, treating the solemn proceedings like some twisted entertainment, oblivious to the fact that the wheels of the legal system were inexorably turning against her. Yet, the testimony that would ultimately seal her fate wouldn't come from forensic experts, seasoned detectives, or even the victim's relatives. It would emerge from the lips of the one person who had known her darkest truths all along, her own father. The fateful evening of October 12th enveloped the serene suburban neighborhoods of Springfield, Illinois, in a crisp autumn chill. Golden leaves danced erratically across well-manicured lawns, illuminated by the soft amber glow of street lamps that lined the quiet streets. Each house stood as a bastion of everyday normalcy, families winding down after dinner, unaware that a shadow of unimaginable horror was about to pierce their peaceful existence. Inside his unassuming two-story home on Oakwood Drive, 52-year-old Thomas Reynolds was easing into his routine evening. The faint scent of a homemade stew still hung in the air from his modest kitchen. Thomas was a creature of habit, a dedicated high school history teacher who had devoted over 3 decades to igniting passion for the past in the minds of young students. He relished simple joys, a good book, tending to his backyard garden, or sharing stories with neighbors. Little did he know that this ordinary night would culminate in a brutal, inexplicable end to his story. Springfield's suburbs had long been synonymous with safety and community spirit, a place where doors were often left unlocked and children played freely until dusk. Thomas had called this house his home for nearly 2 decades, his life a model of quiet reliability and generosity. He was the neighbor who always shoveled snow for the elderly couple next door, the teacher who stayed late to help struggling students, and the brother who never missed a family gathering. That night, the only disturbances were the gentle rustle of wind through the trees and the distant hum of a passing car, a deceptive calm before the storm of violence that was about to erupt. The assault on Thomas Reynolds wasn't born from robbery, revenge, or any discernible motive. It was a manifestation of pure, unadulterated malice, a random act so vicious it would baffle investigators and shatter the community's illusion of security. The initial alert came at precisely 10:47 p.m., a terse, anonymous 911 call, reporting anguished screams emanating from the Reynolds residence. The dispatcher's log noted only fragmented words of panic before the line abruptly disconnected, a silence that spurred an urgent response. 2 patrol units raced to the scene, arriving within minutes to what appeared at first glance to be an undisturbed home. The porch light cast a welcoming glow. A folded newspaper rested on the mat, and there were no obvious signs of intrusion. It was only when the officers circled to a side window and peered into the living room that the facade of normalcy crumbled. Inside lay Thomas Reynolds, his body sprawled lifelessly on the floor amid a chaos of upended furniture and walls splattered with blood. The extent of the violence was staggering, wounds inflicted with a ferocity that far surpassed mere intent to kill, hinting at a perpetrator driven by a profound pathological rage. A preliminary sweep of the house ruled out burglary. His wallet sat untouched on the kitchen counter, cash intact, and electronics like his laptop and television remained in place. The only theft was of a life, leaving behind a void of sorrow and a labyrinth of questions for the Springfield Police Department to unravel. This crime scene embodied sheer nihilism, a destructive outburst devoid of purpose, compelling detectives to hunt not for financial trails, but for the human monster capable of such senseless brutality. The task of notifying the family fell to a seasoned officer, a duty that weighed heavily on even the most hardened hearts. Thomas's sister, Laura Martinez, received the devastating call shortly after midnight. The detective's voice, steady yet compassionate, sliced through her world like a blade. Initial disbelief gave way to a tidal wave of grief as the reality sank in, her mind flooding with memories of her brother, their shared childhood laughs, his unwavering support during her own hardships. She and her husband drove to the police station in a daze, the once familiar roads now seeming like a nightmarish maze. At the station, in a stark interview room under harsh fluorescent lights, the detectives extended their sympathies while outlining the grim details. A home invasion, marked by extreme violence, but with no apparent motive. Laura's thoughts spiraled, struggling to reconcile the gentle, scholarly man she knew with the victim of such savagery. Thomas, the uncle who spoiled her children with thoughtful gifts and engaged in lively debates about ancient civilizations, reduced to a statistic in a police report. The family's quest for answers during those early investigative hours yielded nothing. Thomas had no known adversaries, his life free of conflict beyond classroom discussions. This lack of rationale amplified their anguish, denying them even the cold comfort of comprehension, forcing them to confront the horrifying randomness of evil. News of the murder rippled through Springfield like a toxin, stilling fear in a town unaccustomed to such atrocities. Thomas wasn't merely a headline. He was Mr. Reynolds, the educator who made history vivid, the friendly face at community events. His death felt personal to many, eroding the fragile sense of suburban invulnerability. Candlelight vigils sprang up, flowers piled on his lawn, and neighbors shared stories of his kindness, all while grappling with the unspoken dread. Who could commit such an act in their midst? The investigation, however, didn't stall in ambiguity. In an era dominated by surveillance, traces of the perpetrator were inevitable. The pivotal clue emerged from a neighbor's unassuming doorbell camera, capturing a shadowy young figure departing the house at 10:35 p.m., mere minutes before the 911 call. The person moved with eerie nonchalance, clad in dark attire, a demeanor starkly contrasting the carnage left behind. Detectives spent the ensuing 48 hours scouring the area, matching the footage against school records, social media profiles, and local databases, a meticulous digital hunt that soon pinpointed Sophia Bennett. Sophia, a 17-year-old high school senior residing mere blocks away, had a reputation for minor infractions and a defiant attitude, but nothing foreshadowing this level of depravity. Alarmingly, she had been a student in Thomas Reynolds' class 2 years earlier, injecting a layer of unsettling familiarity into the crime. Armed with identifications from several sources, authorities secured warrants and prepared to apprehend the teenager whose image now anchored their case. The arrest unfolded on a brisk Thursday morning, a tactical team approaching the Bennett home with precision. Sophia's father, Robert Bennett, opened the door to confusion that swiftly turned to horror upon seeing the warrants. Sophia was discovered in her room, engrossed in a video game, the virtual explosions mirroring the real-world chaos about to engulf her. She met the invading officers with irritation rather than fear, her eyes devoid of emotion as handcuffs clicked into place. The subsequent search unearthed damning evidence. Sneakers in a hamper bore reddish stains later confirmed as Thomas's blood type. A black hoodie under her mattress matched the camera footage, and a distinctive serrated knife, absent from her decorative collection, aligned with the autopsy wounds. This trove of physical proof formed an unassailable connection, silently condemning the impassive teen as she was transported away. Interrogation commenced in a barren room at headquarters, designed to intensify pressure. Sophia slouched defiantly, her gaze averted, exuding teenage indifference. Though her parents requested counsel, she waived her rights in a hubristic bid to outwit the detectives, underestimating their experience. The lead investigator employed a paternal approach, probing indirectly to let her weave her deceptions. She insisted on an alibi of being home, her delivery smooth but betrayed by subtle nerves. A tapping foot, averted eyes. The facade cracked when confronted with the doorbell photo. Her posture stiffened, smirk fading into anger. Not remorse, but frustration at exposure. With defenses down, she confessed in a monotone, detailing the break-in via an unlocked window, the confrontation, and the stabbing, all stemming from boredom. Her recounting lacked any emotional depth, as if narrating a mundane event, revealing a void of empathy that stunned the officers. This wasn't catharsis. It was a remorseless proclamation. The case transitioned to the Lincoln County Prosecutor's Office, helmed by Assistant District Attorney Emily Carter, renowned for her thoroughness. Recognizing the confession's vulnerability in court, especially for a juvenile, she fortified the prosecution with ironclad evidence. DNA linking the blood to Thomas, knife serrations matching wounds, and fibers from his clothing on her hoodie. To counter defense claims, investigators profiled Sophia. Intelligent yet antisocial with reports of bullying and animal cruelty, painting her as entitled and rule-exempt. Defense fell to court-appointed Daniel Thompson, a veteran navigating tough cases. Facing overwhelming proof, he pivoted from innocence to mitigation, portraying the murder as an aberration from immaturity and instability, aiming for juvenile sentencing. Initial client meetings frustrated Thompson. Sophia displayed no remorse, viewing the trial as a game and him as a tool. Her focus on media attention over consequences highlighted her narcissism, complicating his efforts. Prosecution pushed for adult trial via pre-trial motions. Emily Carter argued before Judge Robert Klein, emphasizing brutality and remorselessness, playing confession excerpts and revealing her juvenile record of escalating misconduct. Defense countered with psychological testimony on adolescent brains and neglect, pleading for rehabilitation. After deliberations, Klein ruled for adult court, citing the crime's sophistication and public risk. A blow to defense and triumph for prosecution. Sophia smirked through it, still deluded. Defense then focused on courtroom theater, coaching Sophia on remorseful behavior, downcast eyes, solemn expressions. She scorned it as weakness, seeing the trial as her stage for superiority. Pre-trial hearings showcased her arrogance, doodling, smirking at testimony, eye-rolling, behaviors media dubbed the sneering teen killer, prejudicing public opinion. Thompson's pleas for behavioral change fell on deaf ears. Sophia's narcissism repelled reason. Prosecution observed, letting her self-destruct. Tensions with her father, Robert, mounted during visits. He begged for remorse, met with contempt, straining their bond as he glimpsed her true nature. A final hearing's laugh at weapon details prompted judicial rebuke, but damage was irreversible. Her mask shredded. Trial dawned somber. Courtroom packed. Media, professionals, public, victims' family radiating grief. Sophia, in ill-fitting attire, surveyed with amusement. Jury selection. 3 days yielding analytical minds for prosecution. Empathetic for defense, openings. Carter evoked Thomas's life. Promised evidence and remorselessness display. Thompson conceded act but blamed turmoil, urging compassion. Sophia's yawns and fidgets sabotaged defense, jury noting her detachment. Prosecution built case, responders detailed scene. Experts confirmed forensics. Confession tape revealed cold pride. Sophia smirked, even laughing softly at wounds, prompting Laura's tearful exit and judicial warning. Defense. Dr. Anna Lee explained brain development, disorders from neglect. Cross-examination exposed gaps. Many face hardships without murder. Teachers highlighted cruelty over sympathy. Robert refused scripted testimony. Victim statements. Laura recounted Thomas's warmth, addressing Sophia directly, met with blank stare. Then Robert stood up in the gallery. His face was pale, his eyes red-rimmed from sleepless nights and endless tears, but his posture was resolute, a man who had finally found the strength to confront a lifetime of denial. "Your Honor," he said, his voice shaking but clear, cutting through the heavy silence of the courtroom. "I need to speak." A wave of surprise rippled through the room. Daniel Thompson shot to his feet, objecting immediately, his voice laced with panic as he stated that the defense had already rested its case and that this was highly irregular. Emily Carter, though equally taken aback, remained silent, her prosecutorial instincts sensing that whatever was about to unfold could only strengthen her position. Judge Robert Klein looked down at the distraught man, his expression a blend of stern judicial authority and human curiosity. He recognized the breach of protocol, but he also saw the raw desperation in Robert's eyes, a need that transcended the rigid structures of legal procedure. "Mr. Bennett," the judge said evenly, "the time for testimony has passed. On what grounds do you wish to address the court?" "On the grounds of the truth, Your Honor," Robert replied, his voice gaining strength with each word. "The whole truth. Not the story my daughter's lawyer wanted me to tell." Not the story I've been telling myself for years to survive. The truth about who my daughter is, and what I helped her become. The courtroom fell into utter silence, the air thick with anticipation. Thompson looked at his client's father with a sinking sense of dread, realizing that his already fragile defense was on the verge of total collapse. Sophia stared at her father, the perpetual smirk finally vanishing from her face, replaced by a flicker of genuine fury. This was a betrayal she hadn't foreseen, a crack in the control she had always maintained over her family. For the first time, her carefully constructed world was slipping away. Judge Klein considered the request for a long, tense moment, weighing the irregularity against the potential for justice. Finally, he nodded slowly. "The court will allow it," he declared, his voice echoing decisively. "Mr. Bennett, you may approach the witness stand." Robert Bennett walked to the stand as if in a trance, his steps measured and heavy, each one carrying the weight of years of suppressed guilt. He avoided eye contact with Sophia, whose glare burned with hateful intensity, and with the jury, who watched him with rapt attention. He placed his trembling hand on the Bible and took the oath, his voice a hoarse whisper as he swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. This was no longer just a legal formality. It was a confessional, a mother's desperate, no, a father's desperate act of reckoning, ready to dismantle the illusions he had built to shield his child. Emily Carter, sensing the moment's gravity, approached the stand with a softened demeanor, her usual sharp prosecutorial edge tempered by empathy. "Mr. Bennett," she began gently, "you told the judge you wanted to tell the truth. What is the truth this court needs to hear?" Robert took a deep, shuddering breath, his gaze fixed on a distant point in the courtroom, as if drawing strength from some invisible source. Then the words began to flow, a torrent of painful memories, repressed guilt and dawning horror that he had bottled up for far too long. His testimony wasn't a neatly structured narrative, but a raw, unfiltered outpouring, dismantling piece by piece the defense's portrayal of a neglected, broken girl. He began by rejecting the notion of neglect outright. "Sophia wasn't neglected," he said, his voice cracking with emotion. "If anything, she was the opposite. From the time she was little, we, my wife and I, put her on a pedestal. She was our only child, our miracle after years of trying. We gave her everything she wanted, excused every mistake she made. But it wasn't love. It was fear. Fear of losing her affection. Fear of facing what she was really becoming." He recounted specific incidents from her childhood, his words painting a vivid picture of early warning signs ignored. "When she was 8, we found the neighbor's cat in our backyard, tortured, and left to die. Sophia claimed it was an accident, that she was just playing. We believed her, or we wanted to. We buried the animal, told the neighbors it must have been a wild animal, and never spoke of it again. But deep down I knew. There was no remorse in her eyes, just a cold curiosity like she'd been experimenting." As he spoke, his voice grew steadier, the confessions coming faster. He described how Sophia's cruelty escalated through her tween years, bullying classmates, manipulating friends, even small acts of theft that he and his wife covered up by paying off the victims or lying to authorities. "She stole from stores, from kids at school. When she got caught, we'd make excuses. She's going through a phase. No, she's stressed from school. I remember one time she pushed a boy down the stairs at school, broke his arm. The principal called and I lied, said it was an accident, that he tripped. I paid the medical bills quietly, anything to protect her." Robert's face twisted in self-loathing as he admitted to the enabling dynamic in their home. "She ruled our house. Never heard no without a tantrum that made us cave. We indulged her every whim, new clothes, gadgets, trips, thinking it would make her happy, make her normal. But it only fed the monster. She learned early that she could do anything, hurt anyone, and there'd be no consequences, because Daddy would fix it." He spoke of the years leading up to the murder, of Sophia's growing isolation and obsession with violent media, her cold dismissal of family bonds. "She'd look at me like I was nothing, like my love was a joke. I was afraid of her, Your Honor. Afraid of that emptiness in her eyes, the way she'd smile when she knew she'd hurt someone. But I kept telling myself it was a phase, that she'd grow out of it if I just loved her more." The turning point, he explained, came during the trial itself, Watching her in this courtroom, smirking at the evidence, laughing at the pain of Mr. Reynolds' family, it hit me like a freight train. That wasn't my little girl anymore. That was something I helped create, a person without a soul, because I never made her face the world as it is. Tears streamed down his face as he turned to the jury, his voice pleading. The defense says she's a broken girl from a broken home. But that's a lie. Our home wasn't broken until she broke it. I enabled her, excused her, protected her from every consequence. And now an innocent man is dead because of it. She's not a victim. She's a predator, and I helped sharpen her claws. I broke her. Or maybe she was always broken and I just refused to see it. But either way, she feels nothing. No remorse, no empathy. Only anger that she's been caught. The impact of Robert's testimony was profound, a seismic shift in the courtroom's atmosphere. It provided the missing psychological context, transforming Sophia from a potentially sympathetic troubled teen into an enabled sociopath. The jury leaned forward, absorbing every word, while Thompson slumped in defeat, his case obliterated by the one witness he had hoped would save it. Sophia's reaction was explosive. The controlled facade she had maintained shattered. She lunged forward, her chair scraping harshly against the floor, her face a mask of pure, unbridled rage. "You're lying!" she screamed, her voice a raw, guttural roar that echoed off the walls. "You lying bastard! I hate you!" She thrashed against the bailiffs who rushed to restrain her, her body convulsing with fury, spitting curses as they subdued her. The jury watched in horror, witnessing the final transformation from arrogant defendant to unhinged monster, exactly as her father had described. Closings. Carter demanded accountability. Thompson weakly pleaded youth. Jury guilty swiftly. Sentencing. Klein decried arrogance, heeded father's warning. Life without parole. Sophia's facade shattered into terror, sobs escaping as she's led away, finally grasping defeat.